What we're doing today is using the training system. So you'll see at the top it does say Welcome Training RI 101. Obviously yours would say your own name there. And we're going to simply click on the Workbench link on the left-hand side and start a new sales process, which is going to be a mortgage sales process. And this launches us through into Workbench. And we're going to use quite a simple client today. I'm going to name him A person. And we simply search for the client. And this just identifies that there's no current clients on the system with that name. So we're going to select Create a New Client. And complete the mandatory fields towards the bottom of the page here. And once you're ready, you can just collapse the row by clicking on the up arrow. Excuse me. If you do want to delete anything, you can simply click on the delete red minus icon here. And if you did want to add another client, join client to the sales process, you would do so by clicking the Add Another Client button at the bottom. But we're going to launch into the sales process as this is going to be a single client. Okay, we seem to have an error message here, unfortunately. So what we're going to do is just close this down and view the existing sales processes. And this will just allow us to check in any cases that are currently checked out. At the moment, I believe there is a maximum of 10 cases that you can have checked out at any one point in time. So obviously we've been running quite a few live webinars recently, so that's the reason why. And I'm just going to click on check in all sales processes on the side here. And once we've come out of this, it should now allow us to start that new sales process. And we're going to start again. And create the client record. Again, just collapse the row and then launch sales process. And we're brought through to the disclosure and service level screen, which is the initial screen of the sales process. And it's just a few quick pieces of information to complete here. So is this an observed sale? We're going to select no, it's not being observed today. And the buyer type is a first-time buyer. And the purpose of the loan is for the purchase of the house. And you can see here quite an important question. Do you require any advice? You must always select advice and recommendation on the suitable product. If you select no advice or recommendation from us, it will lock down the fact find and you won't be able to move any further in the sales process. Terms of business and SCDD provided, I'm going to select yes, and that'll be version 2. And the dates we're going to pop in as today's date. I'll just pop in today's date as the date of the fact find as well. Once we've completed all the mandatory fields that you can see marked with an asterisk, going to move on to the next page. And the value of the property, we're going to select that's going to be 150,000. And the loan amount we'll say is 100,000. Preferred repayment type, we're going to select repayment and the term as 30 years. Source of deposit, we'll select type in savings. And again, you can see any mandatory fields are marked with an asterisk, and it won't actually allow you to move on to the next stage until you have completed those mandatory fields. And it just brings us through to the personal details page. It's just a bit of additional information following on from the personal details you entered on the main screen, on the front screen. So it's just asking us for the client's marital status. It's not mandatory, but we're going to put this information in. Obviously, the more information you've got, the better. Smoker, we're going to select as no. Client present, yes, and the client will be the applicant for this mortgage. Residential status, at the moment we'll say that the client is living with friends or family, as it's his first purchase. The time of the address has been 5 years. There will be a new property address if he's purchasing a new house. And again, just complete any fields that are marked as mandatory in the sales process here. Preferred contact methods, you must select one of these options. Whichever option you choose will then be highlighted as mandatory. So it will then appear with the asterisk beside it. Once we've completed all these fields, we can move on and select the next icon. So the client's main employment status we'll select as employed, and he's planning to retire when he's 65. Don't have the national insurance number to hand, but this field isn't mandatory, so we don't need to complete this field. And further down the page, you'll find the details of the employment history. So as this particular client is employed, we're going to add more in this section and complete the details of his employment. We're going to say our client is a school teacher and he works at St. Bede's School. And his occupation will be a professional, and he's a teacher. He's employed on a permanent full-time basis, and he works in the education sector. So that he's worked at his current employment for 4 years and 2 months, and it is his main employment. And his current income, we'll say, is £25,000, and that'll be on a yearly basis. Again, if you do want to delete any of the fields that you completed already, you simply click on the red minus icon at the bottom of the screen, or if you want to duplicate any of the items, you click on the plus icon here underneath that. So we're just going to minimize this information that we've already completed, and you'll see if we scroll back to the top, you can see a brief summary of that information marked here. Now, as this is the client's only employment details, we can move on to the next stage and simply just confirm at the bottom that it's his full status. You will notice as well as our note sections at the bottom of each of the pages. So if you do have any additional notes to add, to the case, you simply pop these in the notes pad at the bottom, or alternatively you can access the notepad by clicking the notes button in the top right hand corner here. It's the third box along. And once you've saved your notes, you'll see it's marked with exactly the date and the time that you entered that particular note into the system and who the note was added by, which will be your own name. And because we're using the training system at the moment, this is why it's marked as Training RI. And if you expand the row, you can see the note that you've made. And once you have made a note to the system, you aren't able to edit it, but you can add an additional note on top of that. So if you do add a note on a particular day and you want to go in and add some more, you can simply click on the text icon here and then just save the notes again, and that will just appear towards the bottom of that. So we're just going to close out of this and move on to the next section. If you do, for any reason as well, need to come out of the case, halfway through, for example, you complete the basic client details and you want to go away and you've got another client meeting to do and then come back and finish the sales process, you can select save at any point, which you should be able to see here in the top left-hand corner. If you select save and then either restart or quit, that will come out of the process for you. And then if you want to log back in at another time, you would go back onto your gateway and click on View Existing Sales Processes. So we'll just launch back into the sales process that we're in the middle of. And do the applicants have any mortgages? We're going to select no for the time being. And I don't have any other financial commitments at the moment. And this brings us through to the monthly expenditure for the client. So as we mentioned earlier on, the client is currently living with family or friends. So we'll select in the rent item field as 0. Council tax at the moment is 0. Utilities, again, we'll pop in as 0. Phone, internet and TV, we're going to select £50. Housekeeping, another £50. Travel, £200 a month. Childcare, 0, as the client has no dependents. Maintenance at the moment, we'll pop in as 50. The motoring and car insurance, again, we'll pop in as £50. Household insurance, 0. He's got no life or protection insurance. And at the moment, he's not contributing anything to regular savings or pensions. Other expenditure, make a note of £200. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen here, it's calculated the client's total monthly expenditure for you. If you do want to make any changes, you simply overwrite the details you've already input, and that changes the total monthly expenditure at the bottom. I'm just going to move on to the next page. It just gives us a quick brief summary of the monthly financial summary for the client. It's posted up with his net income, the current mortgages at the moment, which is 0, any other commitments, again, which is 0, his monthly expenditure, and his current spendable income. So if we're happy with this, we can move on to the next stage. And it just asks us for a brief outline of the client's credit history. So we're going to select no for all of these answers. Again, if you do need to select yes for any reason, you can simply make a note of the details in the bottom of the screen here, and that will be input into the notepad for you. We're going to select that the client has no changes or expected changes in his income, his expenditure. He's not likely to receive a capital lump sum, and he doesn't expect to make regular overpayments. He's planning on staying in this particular property for around 10 years. And again, there's a little notepad at the bottom to allow you to make any additional details, but in this case we're going to move on to the next page. We're now required to fill in the client's required features and their particular needs for this mortgage. So we're going to select that Mr. A person's primary need is to, let's have a look. Ability to budget, and we'll say stability of payments for this client. As it's his first mortgage, his first property, and he wants stability of the payments. So we're going to select that option and move on to the next stage. And again, you can make any notes relating to that. If you do want to select an additional lead, you simply do so by clicking the box here on the right-hand side. We're just brought up with a quick note just to confirm that the fact-find process has been completed, and we can now move on to the next stage of the client interview. We're going to select the mortgage sourcing icon here. And it just quickly can ask us to confirm the exact amount of the property again, the loan amount and the loan term. As we've already input this information, the client's needs haven't changed throughout the fact-find process. We're going to leave these as they are. So we now simply select next at the bottom. And you'll see here it's brought us through to the mortgage sourcing icon. So I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Malcolm Etchells, who's going to be taking you through the Trigold demonstration today. We're going to launch into Trigold directly through the workbench sales process. But I will come back after the Trigold demonstration to show you exactly how you can add a quote manually if you have sourced the product using the sort of standalone version of Trigold. But today's sales process, we're going to be launching the sourcing through the workbench sales process. We simply click on Prospector, and we'll give it a few moments, and this should bring up Trigold for us. I'm just going to hand you over to my colleague Malcolm Etchells now from our mortgage support team, and he'll be taking you through the Trigold demonstration. Again, if you've got any questions, please just pop those into the question box. We'll pick them up for you at the end of the demonstration.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Malcolm Etchells, and I work in the mortgage support function here at Intrinsic. I hope everyone's well this morning. What I'm going to do for you this morning is go through a Trigold demo. I'm going to do a very basic demo today, go through most of the tabs on the screen. I'm by all means not going to be going through all of the tabs because it would probably take a lifetime to go through every single tab today. Could I please ask that by show of hands, has everybody actually used Trigold before, and are you fairly confident at the moment? Thank you for that. Most people have said thank you for that, so thank you very much for that. So the plan today is, as I go through a very basic Trigold demonstration. There is plans in the future. We will be running more advanced demonstrations going forward with regarding different types of transactions, such as shared ownership, buy-to-let, multi-tab, quotes, etc. But today is a very basic demonstration. If you do have any questions, like my colleague Andrea said, just put them into the box and we can answer them for you. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, okay, you have various things on the Trigold sourcing list. First of all, Trigold is a tool to source a deal to the most effective of your ability. You can use every single tab in there, so you can go into every single tab, be it the client details, the sourcing details, the property details, adverse credit, compliance, etc. Okay, but for today, obviously Andrew's already put in the details of the client, so it's a person with a date of birth. We haven't put any address in, and it's an employed person who has £25,000 of income and being employed for 4 years, 2 months. Again, this could potentially be changed to self-employed or director, etc., etc. But it's probably best just to put in employed or self-employed at this stage, because what you don't want to do is drill too much into the Trigold system, because it can maybe not allow you to have certain deals on there that you think would be on there in the first place. So what I tend to do when I'm giving advice to advisors is just to do a blanket search, very generic search, then look at the deals and then ring the lenders accordingly, and then look at various criteria afterwards. Okay, so hopefully that's fine. So then you click onto the source section, and then what you'll find is it's already been forwarded from the workbench fact find. You've got a purchase, you've got a first-time buyer, you've got repayments. Again, you could have remortgage, you could have homeowner, you could have interest only, depending on what your scenario is. This section shows a shared ownership box. This is more so for the more advanced demonstration about shared ownership. So if you clicked onto that, for example, this section opens up and you look at the various types of shared ownerships you've got. Okay, shared ownership would be generic shared ownership, and shared equity would generally be the equity schemes that the government's running at the moment. But for today, it's generic first-time buyer, very easy vanilla case. Valuation 150, deposit 50, loan 100,000. What you could do, okay, is obviously this is already pre-filled, but what you could do on a search is just put 150 in there, put your loan to value in there, or even put your deposit in there, and the rest of it's pre-filled for you. Okay, and that's the term. What you then have is in this section you have the various types of mortgages. So you would speak to your clients, and by this time you may be talking about how you want to sort of source and shape the mortgage product, be it a fixed rate, a capped rate, a discount rate, a tracker rate, LIBOR rate, or variable rate. Now, depending on how old all the advisors are on the phone today, you may know all of these rates, but very recently you probably found that fixed and trackers are only going to be really around, but it's probably best to click all of them to get the best option. Say, for example, your advisor, so your client wanted to only go for fixed rates, get rid of everything else, and you've got the fixed rates. You then you can source between and a period. So what I would always generally do, if your client's looking for a fixed rate, and you've got between 2 and 5 year fixed rates, put 2 to 0, and then 5 to 5.6 months. The reason why we're doing that for is some lenders don't have years, do they? They have months in their deals, okay? So if your customer didn't know if they wanted a 2 or a 3 or a 5 year deal, you would put in 2 to 5.5 and then pick the deals accordingly. Let's assume you spoke to your customer and your customer wants a 2 year fixed rate. So you then click 2 years to 2 years, 6 months again, because we don't want to lose out certain ones by putting 2 years and 2 years. You've then got the various type of system that you're using. Today we're using a Positive Solutions Trigold. Okay, there is also an intrinsic restricted Trigold and an intrinsic IFA Trigold. So we will have different results today, but that doesn't mean that the process will be any different, okay? So, but what's important is you've got lifetime products. So we don't want to include lifetime products in this source. And then you've got various other tabs, offset, stepped, verified. You've then got overpayments, underpayments, higher loan-to-value charge, all these various bits and bobs that he has, you can see. I wouldn't today click any of those boxes at the moment anyway, okay? Then you click on source. And then it will bring up the deals are available at 2 year fixed rates. Okay? So what you have is you then have a section down here that gives you what you've asked for. Okay? Then you've got the client. So again, that just confirms what the customer's asked for. Yeah. You then got initial filter. This is where you can start filtering to what you want to do. For example, if you were doing a remortgage and you wanted free legals or no fees or legals fees refunded, you would click the box accordingly to try and drill down more for yourself. Okay. You've also got a section here about CCJs, bankruptcy, arrears, limited companies, etc. In my historically, I've found that by clicking these boxes, you do sometimes lose out on deals. So yes, you can click them, but you might lose out on deals going forward. So what I suggest you do is not click them at this particular moment in time. Again, this filter gives you current account deals, underpayments, overpayments, etc. Self-build, right to buy, etc. Again, because there's so many deals out there, and because it's very, very confusing about what's around and who does what and who does this, if you click one of these filters, you may lose out on a lender that does one of these things, because Trigold's not always updated with every single product out there for every single lender. Okay, so let's not click any further tabs today. What you have then on this side is you have the lender, so all the lenders, okay, on the left-hand side. Type is fixed rate, and what you'll also get is you might have a fixed with a stepped, which is the leads as products at the moment. Okay, you then got the initial rate, so it'll always source it at the cheapest rate at the start. You then got initial payment based on the term that you put it in for. Then when the deal finishes, so as you can see, some of them have a typical date and some of them have years, but only one really has a years, which is nationwide. They're all going on dates at the moment. You then got the final rate, and that is what the SVR rate will be when your deal finishes based on what the rate is today. That can obviously vary come the end of your deal. You then got the fee associated with the deal, the fees from the lender. You then got the cashback element, if at all. You then got loan to value. You then got verified. Now the verified box is sometimes, if it is green ticks, it's been verified that it's okay to go. If it hasn't been green tick, doesn't mean you can't use it. All it means is you have to verify with the lender it's available to you through your particular channel. Okay, and how you're sourcing is completely up to you. You know, you might want to source it on cheapest interest rate. You might want to source it on cheapest payments. You might want to source it on fees, on cashbacks, etc. What I would generally say is most advisors would generally source it on overall payment over a period of time. For example, on the top of here, you've got loads of different tabs. Okay, lots of tabs on there that you probably would never use, and to be fair, I would probably never use. But you can use them, but they are quite complex. So you don't want to necessarily click them now because you might come a cropper going forward. But we'll talk to you about that more in an advanced Trigold sourcing demo. But one thing is good, click on total to pay. It then gives you a calculation option. So if you want to source the cheapest deal over the 30 years, then you can do it. You can do so. However, bearing in mind that in 30 years' time, lots of things can change. The customer may have remortgaged, the SVRs may be different, etc., etc. So what I suggest you do with this one is customers told me that they want the cheapest deal over 2 years to include any fees. So it's the overall cost over the 2 years to get that deal. And then what you'll find is that it will change slightly when it wants to work. And it'll source it on the basis of the overall total to pay. Okay, very, very strong tool that, because it's basically telling the customer you will pay this amount of money over the 2 years if you go for that deal. Okay, and that's very key. So if the customer decided that's what they wanted to go with, they would go with the Abbey. It's a 2.04% rate. That's the initial payment. The deal finishes then. That's the SVR that it is now. Those are the fees which we've decided to add. You can also, if you wanted to, pay them up front, but bearing in mind, guys, you pay a fee up front, the deal goes south, you use your money. Okay, so it's probably not worthwhile doing that, but that's a discussion you'd have to have with your advisors. You've then got the cashback element. Okay, and then that's the loan of value, which is standard on there at the moment. If you have any questions at the moment, please feel free to put them into the box. And I'll put on hold for a few moments, and either myself or Andrew will return. Thank you. Hi, Malcolm back. I have a question from Tim Chapman. Hi, Tim. Thanks for the question. Thank you very much. Why are some lenders in blue? And recap what verified means. Okay. The blue ones historically are verified deals through intrinsic, and sometimes they might be intrinsic exclusives. Because what you'll find is that intrinsic exclusives don't always have to have intrinsic next to them as an exclusive as well, sorry, okay? And verified, on the right-hand side, a green tick box would generally confirm that they've been verified, that they are good to go with that particular lender. But it doesn't automatically mean, Tim, that that is the case, okay? So again, I do stress it's a sourcing tool. What you'd always do is source on this first. Obviously, at the moment we are in Workbench, so this is, you would have potentially sourced through Trigold standalone yourself. You see a customer, you source it, you do a deal with a customer, you would then confirm that that particular rate is available, you would confirm that the code is available, you would then source it via Workbench the way we're doing it now once you've sat down with the customer. So hopefully that answers your question. What I'm going to do now is, so once you decided your customer wanted that Abbey deal, you click onto KFI. Okay, and this now, okay, will then, it's pre-filled with the information. So this is confirming, again, the property details, the deal, etc., when it starts, when it finishes, when it needs to commence by. Okay, you then click onto next. This is now telling you the fees associated. So you've got the booking fee of $995, which we've said we wanted added to the loan. Okay. There is it's a free valuation, which is really, really good. Okay. There's a 225 mortgage account fee, which you pay when you finish the deal with Santander Abbey. Okay. What it is saying is, if you do pay the mortgage off before the deal finishes, they will recoup the home buyer's report, which is the valuation. There is a telegraphic transfer of £35 that you have to pay to get the money transferred from the solicitor to the lender and vice versa. Every KFI will always have a lending conveyancing fee of £126. You can ignore that because that's generally down to you and your solicitor who you're actually picking. Okay? So if you wanted to add any more fees there, you would. For example, you would add a fee by clicking on Add, and you would type in a fee, say £500 or whatever you were going to charge for your fee to the customer. Okay, I'm not going to fill it in today, but you would type in, you're going to charge £500 to the customer for the advice. Okay, you would then click into Other, you would then type in your company name, and then you would type in Broker. Okay, so amount in there, Other means the company name, and that would be broker fee. Okay, but I'm not going to do that today. Okay, and then you have a section of, can it be added? Well, you probably wouldn't add it. It all depends on yourself. Refund, yes or no, payable, upfront application, etc. So again, this is down to yourself and how you sort your deal. So there will be a section on there for that. You then go to next. And then I asked about the procuration fee. This is where it gets a bit tricky because obviously there's so many deals around. So on this particular one, okay, you're a Positive Solutions, so using a Positive Solutions Trigold, you would click on the Please Pay L&G Mortgage Club. Okay. And this section just confirms who it's with, the deal, the term, the monthly payments. You generally wouldn't sort of change anything at this stage. This is confirming that you're adding a 995, okay, and that the total to pay if you went the full 30 years would be that amount of money. Okay. sorry, forgive me, sorry, that's what the loan is, what £100,995, sorry, that's not what you pay at the end, that's what you pay at the start, that's your total loan, with your loan amount plus your 995. Okay? You would then preview, and this then brings up the KFI. When it wants to. There we go. So this is the KFI that you would obviously give to your clients. It has your details on, it has your fee on, and also, I mean, again, it's depending on yourself how prudent you are as advisors. You might want to give them the KFI from the lender as well, because that should have the code on, and then that's something that I need to discuss with you going forward. Very important to have the correct code on your KFI that matches the code on the lender's KFI as well. Okay, but I think that's enough from me today. I'm going to hand you back to my colleague Andrea. Thank you very much for your time today, guys, and take care.
Hi again everybody, it's Andrea. So I hope you have all found that useful. Quite a quick demonstration on Trigold there from Malcolm Etchells. But as I did mention, we will be looking at hosting some more advanced sessions on Trigold for those of us who've joined us today who do use it on a regular basis and perhaps want to take advantage of those advanced features. So Malcolm's posted up to the KFI here. If you do ever need to edit this, you would simply do so by clicking the edit icon, key facts illustration. That then brings you through to an editable version which you can either copy and paste into a Word document if you wanted to do so. What we're going to do today is simply close out of this and close out of this. And we're going to just take a step back to the client's record. And in order to complete our suitability letter through Trigold, we need to simply click on the Documents tab, click on the KFI icon which Malcolm had launched for us there. You then simply highlight the KFI that you're using or you've used with the client. And once you've clicked on that, you'll see that the Create Suitability Letter is highlighted at the bottom here. And we simply click OK, and it brings us through to the suitability letter in Trigold. So you'd move through the options and the subcategories here on the left-hand side, selecting whichever option is applicable to the client and their particular needs. You'll see anything highlighted in yellow, you do need to manually input some text in there. So if you see you've highlighted that, and it brings you across to the right-hand side, where it's highlighted, please enter reason for term here. So we're just going to put some details in just so we can move through. You'd obviously complete this according to the client's needs and requirements. Again, we're just going to move through all the yellow fields. Just simply complete that with some X's. And once you're ready and you're happy that this full suitability letter has been completed, you can simply print preview. And this brings you through to the suitability letter. And again, if you do want to edit this, you simply click on the edit icon in the top left-hand corner, product suitability letter, and it would bring you through to an editable version. Same situation again, if you do want to copy it over to a Word document and edit it manually, you click on product suitability letter, it pulls you through to the editable version, which you can then just simply copy and paste into a Word document. Okay, so for example, if you wanted to change the client's name or his address or anything like that, or anything in the content of the letter, you could do so that way. So as you'll see, it's just the usual suitability letter, highlights what the client's needs are, the product that you've recommended, It'll give you a comparison print there. That should show you 30 different provider comparisons, the recommendation, and your contact details. And it will always pull through your own details at the bottom there. Okay. You can print that directly from Trigold, or as I mentioned, if you pull it through to Word, you can also print it from there. So we're just going to close out of the suitability letter and move back into the sales process and workbench. And we're now given the option to import the quotes that we've sourced in Trigold. So I'm just going to select import here. And as you can see, it's pulled through all the details, so we don't need to manually input that. If you have sourced the quotes externally from the standalone version of Trigold, for example, if you've met the client before you completed the sales process and the fact find, and you've sourced that product already, you would simply click on Add Quote. Instead of clicking on Prospect to resource, you'd simply click on Add Quote, and that would allow you to add the quote in manually. So it's bringing you up with all of these fields here, but they would all be in blank and give you drop-down options to select the particular product that you're recommending. Okay, so you would do that rather than clicking on Prospector. You would simply click on Add Quote. Okay, as we've sourced this through the workbench sales process, we've pulled everything through. We then need to confirm at the bottom here that we are applying for this mortgage, which is quite important. You need to select this to ensure that you can set your remuneration further down the process. So we need to select, are we applying for the mortgage? Yes. And you would simply enter in the details that you discussed with the client and enter in the details of the proxy. If you do input any quotes in error, again, you can simply delete these by clicking the minus icon highlighted in red, or if you do want to add an additional quote, you can copy the row by selecting the plus icon below that. We're just going to collapse the row so we can just see a brief summary of this and move on to the next page. And now gives you an option to move on to package shaping. So if you are recommending any protection products for your client in addition to the mortgage, to support the mortgage, you can click on package shaping, which would allow you to do so. But what we're going to do is move on to the mortgage summary. Now it's just asking us for the adjusted commitments and the existing mortgages which the client doesn't have. So we'll simply move on to the next stage. And the monthly expenditure and just how this will change following on from the mortgage. The rent will still be zero. That doesn't include the mortgage payment. The mortgage payment does come into consideration further down the process. So rent purely relates to any rent payments which the client won't have. So we'll leave that as zero. We'll change council tax to 150. Utilities will change to 100. Phone, internet and TV will leave as it is. Housekeeping, travel, childcare and maintenance all the same. Same with the mortgage, but we will have household insurance, we'll say, of £20. At the moment this client isn't taking any protection. Insurance, we'll leave that as zero. You won't have any regular savings and there'll be no additional expenditure. So we're going to select next once we're happy that we've completed all of the fields. And you can see that it inputs the new mortgage costs as part of that recalculation. Okay, so it's brought that into consideration that the client will now be paying the £375.32 in addition to the increase in his monthly expenditure. Okay, So you can see a quick snapshot of his current position and his new position. Again, if you want to make any notes, you can do so at the bottom of the page. We're going to simply move on to the next page. Okay, and it gives us a quick summary just to confirm that the mortgage interview and sales process has been completed. So that means that we haven't missed any of the mandatory fields, we've completed everything, all those requirements. So now we simply click on Close the Sales Process, which will allow us to move through into Office Web, set the remuneration, and upload any documents that we need to. Again, at any stage, if you want to sort of save and close the process and come back and work on it at a later date, you can do so by selecting the Save icon at the top in the left-hand corner here, and then you would simply select either Restart to bring you back to the Workbench homepage, or Quit just to bring you back through to the gateway. Okay, we're going to select Close the Sales Process today so we can move on and set the remuneration. And this pulls us through to Office Web. So you're given three options. You can either close and create the contract. That simply means that the sales process is completely closed down, which means it's uneditable and you can't make any further changes. You can create the contract, which will pull you through to Office Web but not close the sales process. Or you can cancel the sales process, which will mean it's marked as aborted, and that cancels everything, all the work that you've already completed. Okay, so today what we're going to do is select Create Contract, just in case we do need to come back and edit the case. And you'll see a little pop-up there which says the sales process has now been checked in. And we'll pull through to Office Web, which is the back office system. And this is where all your commission fee information, all your documents are stored for that particular client and sales process. So as you can see, it's pulled through the quotes that we input in Trigold and then imported into the sales process. That's the fixed mortgage there, the premium, the monthly premium of £375.32. That'll be on a monthly basis. We selected that we were applying for the product. That's come through as applied for as yes. The submission method was manual because we manually completed all of this information. And you can see at the end category there, the remuneration step at the moment is highlighted as no. Okay, so that means the case has not yet been submitted. So what we need to do first of all is move on to the Documents icon on the left-hand side. And you can see that a Sales Process folder has been created with today's date underneath the client's name there. You can see that it's pulled through the KFI from Trigold. And I've also got the time and date that we completed that. Once you do want to add any additional information, say for example the URU checks, suitability letter, any supporting documentation, you simply click on the Add icon at the bottom. And you can then browse in your local files on your computer and upload any documentation that you need to. You would select the document and click on Upload, or if you wanted to add more than 5 documents, you can do so by selecting the Add More icon, and you'll see 5 additional rows will appear. A good point to note as well is that you can upload zip files, so you don't necessarily have to upload all the documents individually. You can upload a zip file. You can also upload Word documents. I understand with True Potential you could only upload PDF copies of documents, but in Office Web you can upload Word documents or any other format of documents. You can do so in the same way. Okay, it will accept any other document types. So when you're ready, you would simply click on Upload, and it would just then appear in the Documents section here. Okay, once you're happy that all the documents have been uploaded, you just need to reconfirm the client's details before we do set the remuneration. So if you can see the left-hand icon here, named Client Details. And I'm not sure whether you can see on your screen in front of you, but some of these fields are highlighted in a sort of yellow colour. So anything highlighted in yellow, again, is mandatory, but has pulled through the information from Workbench. Okay. Any additional details that you might have at this stage obviously are useful, and we recommend that you input as much information as possible. But we're just going to move along the tabs at the top here, just to ensure that all the mandatory information is there. So see the status at the moment is current, and we're going to change the ID verification to electronic ID as you've completed URU with this particular client. And we're just going to select Save. Once we've completed the client details, we can then move on to the quotes list to set our remuneration and submit the case. Okay, so we simply highlight the quotes that we're applying for and that we would want to submit, and then click on the Set Remuneration icon at the bottom of the page. And again, you'll see any mandatory information that's highlighted in yellow. So we need to complete the packager, which will put as none. And I believe that we applied for an ABI product, and the product was mortgage, and it was a fixed mortgage. Okay, you'll see that it's pulled through the mortgage amount, the monthly repayment for the client, and the term details as well. You can edit this if you need to, and you'll see that the status will always be changed to pipeline. Okay. If, for example, the client decides not to apply for the product at a later date or needs to apply to a different lender, you can go back in and change the status to not taken off, which will change it on the system to not proceeded with. I can show you how to do that a little bit later on. So we'll just leave this one as pipeline for the time being. And we just simply click along the tabs at the top here, and again just complete any information highlighted in yellow. If you've got the policy number, I recommend that you put that in, but at this stage we're going to say that we don't have this information. We'll move across to the tabs. This will show your own name in here, but as I mentioned earlier, we're using the training system today. So this is pulled through Training RI as a login advisor. And if you are splitting the fee or commission with another Positive Solutions advisor, you can input that split here in this section referred by AR. And when you're logging into the live system, if you click on this drop down, you'll see a list of all Positive Solutions and intrinsic advisors. So we're going to leave this blank for the time being as we're not splitting this particular amount. So I'm just going to move on to the Compliance tab. Again, complete any information which is highlighted in yellow. And just make sure that you click on Document Uploaded. And as we're taking a prop fee from the provider for this particular product, we're going to select non-indemnity, and then it's already pulled through the procuration fee from the sales process. And if you are taking an additional fee from the client, you would simply click on the Fees tab and input either the initial or the ongoing there at the bottom. Okay. So we're going to say this is the only fee that we're receiving, so we're just simply going to select Save. And this just pulls us back through to the Office web system here and just shows us exactly that the remuneration has been set there. So you can see remuneration set, and that's set to yes. Okay, so that is the end of the sales process and the end of the demonstration. This case has been completed and submitted now. So that is the end of the demonstration.